Hello everyone. Should writers imitate the writers that they read? Well, obviously all writers do that to a certain degree, but I've often thought, and I've thought about this more recently, if there is a downside to being well read as a writer, it's that you will often find yourself imitating the voices of other writers. Um, because if you're a writer who isn't well read yet, then you will be more original in your writing. That's the upside. But also at the same time, you will also be very limited in what you can write about and in your vocabulary. So it's a very tricky balance between attaining knowledge but also trying to be somewhat original at the same time. And now all writers imitate the writers that they love, but I think the key to imitating other writers well is to imitate them and then try. Doesn't mean you'll always succeed, to go a step beyond. So for example, I've noticed lately as I've been becoming more well read. That my sentences will often sound like a little of Shakespeare, sound like a little of William Faulkner. Sometimes I'll have a sentence that sounds both like Shakespeare and Faulkner at the same time. But for example, I wrote a sentence a few weeks ago that I thought was absolutely great, but then a few days later I read it again and I thought, this kind of sounds like a sentence in this Shakespearean sonnet that I read that I really loved, and this kind of sounds similar, but I think though that I took that sentence as inspiration, then I went a step beyond. For example, the original sentence was, and it's really difficult to remember Shakespeare word per word, but it was, "And thy and wealth thy sweet love brings," or something that I scorn to change my state with kings. It's sonnet 29, and well, I wrote a sentence that was, She was a treasure worth more than all the wealth in the earth, for goddesses reign far longer than philosophers and kings. Now it's a similar sentence, but the difference is that Shakespeare is basically saying that the fair youth's love is worth more than being a king, that he would rather have that than be a king. Whereas what I'm saying in that sentence is, in my sentence, is in his eyes, in the narrator's eyes, this woman is eternal, and therefore she is worth far more than any kind of worldly thing that he could possess, such as a power that a king could give him, or the knowledge that a philosopher could give him. Is that she is eternal, she is beyond that. So I think that I was inspired by Shakespeare's sentence, but I went a bit further with it. So I think that is using inspiration well. So to me, is yes, you should be inspired by other writers, but try to, if possible, to go a step beyond what those writers are doing. Now, of course, you won't be able to do that all the time, and all writers and artists will subconsciously imitate the writers that they read or the artists that they consume without even realizing it. So that's just something that happens in art all the time, and as writers, we're going to have to get used to it. So that's my advice: is try to go a step beyond the writers that you're imitating.